What's cracking, guys? Omar Isaf here, back with another video, back with a whiteboard video talking all about hypertrophy, building muscle. I'm going to try and keep this video as short as possible. I first have to give credit to Dr. Mike Israetel for making a post that was very comprehensive, kind of breaking down what is optimal if you want to build muscle. This is pretty much everything. This is actually going to be a basic overview. I know there's a lot of numbers. It seems a little complicated. I'm going to try and simplify this. Actually, what I will do at a later date is get Dr. Mike Israetel to come on here. It'll probably be a 20-30 minute video breaking everything down on this here whiteboard. But essentially, this is it. As long as you're not a complete beginner. What's a complete beginner? If you have trained less than a year, you're still a beginner. So if that's not you, and you are not a super advanced lifter, so let's say over 15 years of lifting, which I don't think, once again, is a lot of you, this definitely applies. So basically, for 99% of you guys watching, this is how you should train if you want to build muscle. We're going to talk about volume, frequency, intensity, and also programming. See, programming is talked about a hell of a lot when it comes to strength training, but not a lot at all when it comes to hypertrophy. And I think that makes no sense, because if you just do your normal 3x10 at the exact same intensity, or just going a little bit up each week, eventually you're going to burn yourself out, and that's not going to be optimal for your gain. So much like how you cycle intensity when it comes to strength, when you want to get stronger, cycling your volume and what you do when it comes to hypertrophy is equally as important. Let's first break this down. I talked and I made a whole video talking about low volume versus high volume when it comes to bodybuilding, trying to build muscle, and how it has been shown conclusively that all other things being equal, higher volume seems to be more beneficial for building muscle. And in that study, Dr. Brad Schoenfeld was talking about that. I'll link that video in the description. But they concluded that plus 10 sets of volume per week per body part of working sets is better than less than 10 sets. Here, what I am going to recommend is a good general recommendation of 15 to 25 working sets per muscle group per week. So this does include your warm-ups, and this is a long range, and it's going to be a long range because we're going to talk about programming, how you're going to slowly build your working sets as the weeks go by and then finally do a deload. So if you take a look at your total training right now, we're talking about working sets, right? Your intense sets. You should have between 15 to 25 working sets per muscle group per week. And for compound movements, there's going to be a lot of crossover, right? When you're doing the bench press, it's not just a chest movement, you're also involving your triceps. So don't panic at this number thinking, oh my God, I got to do like 25 sets of chest flies per week. No, this is the totality of your training. So 15 to 25 working sets. When we next talk about frequency, how often should you train your body parts? Well, once again, it's been shown quite favorably that increasing the frequency of training a muscle group is beneficial. So the general recommendation is 2 to 4 days per muscle group per week. And again, this isn't saying you have 4 chest days, but because all of us, I hope, squat, bench, deadlift, you're working multiple muscle groups per week. So already if you do the bench press, on that day you are working your chest. So if you look at this 4 times per week, it's actually not that scary when you think about it. And I would say 2 to 4 times per week for every single muscle group, it's very feasible. If you do an upper-lower split, if you do a push-pull legs, you'll definitely be hitting this frequency amount. A couple other things to know, however, and this is another key, is that your volume shouldn't be the same each training session. So if we say that you should perhaps train 4 to 6 times per week on average for most lifters, every single workout isn't going to have the exact same amount of volume. In fact, you'll have harder days and you'll have less hard days because you need your body to recover. You can't just go hard a certain, or same intensity, I should say, every single training session. So the way that Dr. Mike Israetel broke it down, he said, I think it was 60% of your volume should be comprised on half of your training days, and then the other half would be 40%. So basically, you train a lot more half of the time. So you have your heavy days that are high volume, and then you have your lighter days. The same thing can be said when it comes to frequency of muscle groups. Larger muscle groups, let's say your glutes. Your glutes get hit up a hell of a lot, right? You're doing the squat, you're doing the deadlift, you're doing a lot of big compound movements, and they get a lot of love and attention. Your side deltoid right here, not nearly as much. So if we want to talk about an aesthetic physique, maximizing hypertrophy, we definitely want to increase the frequency for smaller muscle groups. And that's kind of one of the hidden keys for aesthetics. Not everything needs to be trained or should be trained the exact same way. Some things favor higher volume, some things favor higher frequency. If it's a smaller muscle group, if it's more legging, stubborn area, you need to increase that frequency. So even though we said 2 to 4 times or days per week per muscle group per week, the more legging areas, you definitely try and hit it up 4 times per week. Larger ones can get away with maybe 2, 3 times per week. Again, if we take a look at volume, some days you'll go higher volume, higher intensity, and other days you'll back it down. So again, if you're doing push-pull legs and you do it 2 times per week, so you train 6 times per week, 2 push, 2 pull, 2 legs, you would have 1 heavier day, 1 lighter day. So far this is kind of making sense, right? Let's talk about intensity. Again, I've talked about this before. All your working sets pretty much should be between 55 and 85% of your 1 rep max, even if your goal, so I am talking right here exclusively about hypertrophy training, but a lot of this bleeds over towards trying to get stronger. Even if you want to just get stronger, you should be trying to build strength, and this is largely between that 60 to 85% range. Now, if you're going for higher reps, you can even dip as low as 55% of your 1 rep max, but the vast majority of what you're doing, of your compound movements, of your isolation movements, should be between 55 to 85% of your 1 rep max. So now you have your intensity. If you know roughly what your 1 rep max is when it comes to the bench press, squat, and deadlift, you're good to go. I'm going to leave out a discussion on rep ranges. I will just say overall, obviously, that you should be training through a wide variety of rep ranges. You should be training the lower rep ranges if you want to get stronger. So let's say you do your 5x5 to open up your squats. But as you continue the workout, as you train different muscle groups, you have to work through the entire spectrum. So this isn't just 3 times 10 or 3 times 8. You'll be doing your 8s, your 10s, 12s, 15s, even 20 repetitions. Again, one of the exciting things, let's say, recently that's been shown by Dr. Brad Schoenfeld and others, is working in the higher rep ranges actually has a significant impact on your hypertrophy. So all those dudes that were doing calisthenics, higher repetitions, it kind of makes sense now. Alright, let's break down programming, which is probably the most complicated part of this whole hypertrophy training. How the hell do you do this? Well, essentially, like I said before, when it comes to trying to build muscle, you need to cycle your volume. You can't be at 100% every single week. You'll burn yourself out. In fact, I've seen so many bros burnt out because they just keep thinking more. Like, more is better. If I just keep going more, it'll get better. And by the time they actually take a deload or they lower the volume, it's already too late. They're burnt out. They're seeing, dancing boxes of Pop-Tarts. They're gone. They're gone. Okay, they're forever gone. If we take a look at programming, you have 2 basic sections. You have the accumulation phase, which is where you slowly build up the volume over time, as well as the intensity. And then you have the deload, which is you allowing your body to recover so you can do the whole damn thing over again. And really, I've said this once again before, but if you take a look at training, it works in waves. So slowly over time during the accumulation phase, you're building up good volume, good intensity. Then you dip it back down because you need a deload in order to allow your body to recover. Then you begin the accumulation phase once again. Now here's what's interesting. The accumulation phase, depending upon the individual, lasts 3 to 6 weeks. So normally you'll see that sometimes, right? 3 weeks, let's say, building, and then 1 week of a deload. I kind of go more towards the 6 weeks or something higher on that end. So more like 6 weeks of accumulation. But what you do, and refer back, I'll link this in the description, Dr. Mike Israetel's video talking about minimum effective volume and maximum recoverable volume that you could do when it comes to building muscle. You would start at the minimum. So looking at all these ranges right here, we see for volume, it's 15 to 25 working sets per muscle group per week. So week 1, you'd start at the lower end, 15 sets. And slowly, every single week, you would add 1 to 2 sets per muscle group. So week 1, 15 sets. Week 2, 17 sets. Week 3, 19 sets. And 21 sets. Week 4, all the way up. Once again, week 6, you're about 25 sets. And then you do a deload. The same thing applies when we look at intensity. Let's say we want to start at maybe 65% of our 1 rep max. So we're doing the bench press. We're doing like a 3x8 a week 1. Well, week 2, we would add 2% roughly on average every single week. So by the end of the 5 or 6 weeks, from 65%, now we're at 75, 78% of our 1 rep max. We're really pushing both the volume and the intensity. As you can tell, this can't last. Your body can't sustain that. If you just keep increasing the volume, you will crash, hence the deload. So what you'll do after you slowly, over a period of 6 weeks, you increase the volume, you increase the intensity, And then it's time for the deload. The deload lasts roughly 1 week. And in the first half of that, so let's say your first 3 workouts, if you work out 6 times per week, you do half the amount of sets of week 1 when you started the accumulation phase, and then the latter half, you'd also do half the total amount of intensity and total amount of working sets. So basically for your deload, whatever you did the starting week here, you do roughly half of that. And then after you do that deload, it's time to build back with another accumulation phase, except your starting point on that accumulation phase is a little bit higher. So if week 1 of your first phase was like 65% in terms of intensity, your second accumulation phase, you maybe start 66%, 67%. And as you can see, slowly over time, you're handling more volume, more intensity. That is how you build muscle. You're slowly, like a wave, I said this before, you're building higher quality volume, higher quality intensity. If you take a look at this, this is how intelligent lifters train. A lot of this can seem confusing to you guys out there because you're thinking, oh man, like how do I manage all this? You know, what's a template? How should I really organize this? A lot of smart programs use a lot of these basic principles, which are crucial because once again, you'll quickly exceed that beginner point where your normal 3x10 and just training more and just fucking going for it, bro, doesn't work any longer. And so if you look at anyone that's serious about lifting, they think about this shit a hell of a lot. So guys, this is breaking down hypertrophy training, how you should do it, the basics. If you want to see Dr. Mike Israetel get on here, maybe break it down even further for those that really want to know and give a damn about their training, make sure to like the damn video. A few things to note. In the first place, like I promised you guys already before, for myself, I will have that power building program coming out with myself, Silent Mike, Bart Kwan. There will be a free 4-week version released publicly to you guys. Stay tuned for that. It definitely follows these principles. But also, this is the big thing I would say, for a lot of you guys out there that are just struggling to make sense of all this and you're thinking, man, I ain't got time for this, like I don't want to study, I quit school for a reason, and you're too cheap, quite frankly, to buy a program. What I would recommend, highly recommend, is actually downloading this app called Gravitas. I'm not endorsed, I'm not getting paid in order to make this announcement. I am helping out alongside Eric Helms and Greg Knuckles to make it the best lifting app. It basically does a lot of this for you. It lets you know when you hit PRs, it lets you know how your training is going, it lets you know how all this is making sense when it comes to your training. It's a lifting app for lifters. Once again, it's 100% free to download. Guys like Greg Knuckles is using it. That's why there's stuff like reps in reserve, RP, a whole bunch of exciting things. And there's also a lot of high quality lifters lifting, so you can kind of get a feel of how real people that want real results, how they organize their training. My coach, Clarence Kennedy, he's on it. He's going to be posting his weightlifting so you get an idea. I'm on it. I'm actually in the link in the description, the top link, my actual Gravitas username, so you guys can follow me, see how my workouts go. Because I saw that comment. Someone said, hey man, like, why don't you give us a full week of training? And honestly guys, you know, I do want to show you guys a lot of my training, but this channel isn't really about me. It's about trying to help you guys out with the knowledge. So if you want to check out what I'm doing, you can follow me on Gravitas. I'm going to post videos, I'm going to post all my workouts, I'm going to post different notes so you guys can make sense of this. If you're confused with your own programming and you need help and you want notifications that will let you know how you're doing when it comes to your intensity, your PRs, what you're hitting, download it. It's free. Also, I spoke to the dude, I know the guy, the owner, Eric, great guy. He said anyone that downloads it and follows me will get 3 months of premium. Premium allows you to make notes, also export it eventually in Excel while you're recording in Gravitas, basically making sense out of all this. So I highly recommend for those out there that are a little cheap but they want help with all this stuff, making sense out of the training, getting more gains, to download Gravitas. It would be very useful for you guys. Anyways, I gotta get out of here. I hope I made a hell of a lot of sense with this. Let me know in the comment section below if you guys have any questions. If you liked the video, I'm looking right at you. Like the damn video, and I'll be seeing all you guys, my rascals, in that next video. Peace.